Welcome to Center of Light Radio. Keith Anthony Blanchard here. Yanava. Welcome to Center of Light Radio. Good to see you. Center of Divine Unfoldment and Reinforcement. Strap in all my brother and sister astronauts as we launch for inner space. Looking forward to tonight's time with you, as well as my guest tonight, Mr. Aage Nost. I'm going to be speaking about higher conscious thinking. I want to say hooray for all those in the field of being of absolute service, which is the highest calling. There is no higher calling than being of service. And those I'm speaking about directly of being in this particular service for my thought to follow, which is divine delicious food for me, is that people are on the move to find the children. Are you with me? They're finding the children, and they're looking hard. And I'm glad it's becoming a fad and or a trend. Now all the politicians, everybody wants to get on board and say, look at me, look at me, look at me. Yay, I helped find some children. Good. Fantastic. I don't care your agenda in finding the children. The children are being found is becoming a very popular thing. It's almost like the new Facebook challenge, and people are meeting it. The question I pose, simply whoever you are, if you do a little bit of research, someone posts in your feed, and you follow it, and you take it to the news source, and it says someone is lost, sometimes you have to check it to see if it's updated and the child has been found. And if you just click and go see the child is still missing, if you don't post that to your wall, the question I ask is why? Simply why? Why are you not doing that? No judgment, just the fact of the matter. The children are the teachers of the future. Now you know why they are so wanted. Do you understand? This applies on all levels of being. The children are being found. And groups are now forming, Navy SEALs and all these organizations. And now it's becoming hip to be cool. And finding the children. That is phenomenal for me. Also, as I said in a recent Center of Light, I don't think it might have been the cave. I'm not sure. Either way, point is, I did a presentation some months back about City is Burning. This is right after the cathedral fire in France. All right? The city is burning. Fires are breaking out all over the world. Amazon did its thing, and it's probably still going. I'm not sure. Now, we recently had Africa, which is still, I think, going. A third of Africa is on fire. Australia is on fire. The purification is happening. Things are underway. Things are beginning to move. I hope you're finding yourself grounded and planted in your experience to not be influenced by the outside possibility of the chaotic energy. How do I do that? There's nothing you have to do but step back and look. And see, it's all part of a divine play, a grand scheme of things. And any of your involvement that is unconscious adds to the problem. Not because you're causing trouble, but out of ignorance of not knowing how divine energy and the law of physics truly plays out itself, especially when they begin to shake hands in a very, very powerful, magnanimous way. That's the level of devotion to be in the divine spiritual ocean that it takes to have the power to save the children. In turn, you're saving yourself. Because without the children, there is no need for evolution. It's always the children. It's always the children. They are the legacy. It's a tree that is sprouting. It's divine. It blossoms over and over. The divine structure has no structure. It blossoms into everything that is life. Speaking of everything that is life, I want to bring Mr. Aage Nost onto Center of Light Radio. Let me tell you a little bit about my friend. So I decided recently to go to audio. I do lots of video presentations. I wanted to change it up. I like radio of it. I like the aspect of it. It's mysterious, leaves more of the imagination. It gets the distraction of the eyes out of the way, right? You have to go inside and really, really take it in. I'm really, really digging it. This is my second interview, and I'm glad it's with Mr. Aage Nost. in doing this. And so I'm curious to listen back to the work to see how it feels. So, but anyway, welcome everyone. Hello, Ali Wallace, Nori Love, Nicole Parrish, and the tribe. Let me tell you a little bit about my guest tonight, Mr. Aage Nost. We're speaking about higher conscious thinking. Aage Nost was interviewed by BBC Television in England for a TV documentary titled Time Trip. Oh boy, I hope we talk about time travel. Time Trip, discussing the possibilities of and practical applications of time travel. Others interviewed for the same documentary was theoretical physicist and author Michio Kaku. I love me some Mr. Kaku. And three other theoretical physicists. Also interviewed was Patricia Ress of Omaha, Nebraska, who has written several books on time travel. These people are the foremost experts on theoretical physics and the quote technical side of time travel in the world. The TV documentary has been shown globally to about 1 billion people. Mr. Aage Nost also has a fantastic book that we're going to be speaking about tonight titled Spiritual Science, Higher Consciousness Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness, which you can find now at Amazon.com. I just dropped, and I'm going to do it again, a slew, which I'm going to say is 2 links. Go to his website, go to his YouTube page, check him out, look at his work. He has a lot to say. Aage Nost, my brother, how is ya?
Well, I am somewhere between wonderful and fantastic, and I'm not so sure which one is closest.
Can they both parallel? I mean, can they both come together and be one thing, and we call it wonderful tastic or fandiful?
Now you're talking.
See?
That's a good one.
Well, that's that's higher consciousness thinking. And you see in the title, I have higher conscious thinking, and it might have been just a slip up on whatever. So it's higher consciousness thinking. Is that right, my friend?
Yes.
So let me get this out the way, because you and I are about to dive into a very deep swimming pool there. Everyone in the chat room, not everyone, just the first couple. I'm changing some things up. I'm now very close to the mic. I want to make sure I'm not punching that mic really, really hard in the gut. If everything sounds good between my guest and I, just send me an exclamation point. If 2 or 3 people do it, no need for everyone else. So I appreciate your participation, and welcome to Center of Light Radio. My brother, it's good to interview you again. The last time you and I talked in this fashion was probably 3 years ago. I think we did an interview on Center Light Radio when it was Inception Radio Network. What has grown with you since then?
Oh,
not like
boy,
every
oh boy.
day.
Yeah, gosh, I tell you, and I don't think it was that far back. I think maybe a year and a half, maybe, or something like that. But I always have fun when I'm on here with you, because this is not really just an interview. It's kind of like a dialogue between 2 people on the same frequency, and makes it a comfortable conversation. That's what it turns out to be usually. I like that.
Absolutely. You know, it's you and I just having a beer at the bar, and everybody just happens to be eavesdropping in the background, and everybody's just, you and I are the talkers at the table, and everybody else just kind
Yeah,
of likes to sit there. They had a long week, so they quiet.
yeah, there you
And
go.
in the radio green room, you and I were just chatting, and I asked you, I said, dude, you are just so busy like I am. And I asked you if you were tired and how was your stamina. You said, dude, I'm in this for real. And I said, I love it. I love your get up and go, and you're full out, man. As who would say that? Nori, be
Yep,
you
that's
full out. Nori
yeah,
love full out,
yep.
right?
She coined that one. Yeah. No, the thing is that when you're busy with something that you love to do, you don't work anymore. You just play. And I play from 9 o'clock in the morning till midnight, usually, or after, or sometimes before. But I enjoy everything I do, and because right now I do 3 radio shows. I do 2 of them I do with Nore Love, and another one I do with a lady from over in Germany, and we have a lot of fun with it, and we educate a lot of people, and we get some really good feedback, so it feels good. And of course, I've written 2 books here that's in print, and I am out there talking about those, and I'm on the speaking circuit. So it's busy with that, and of course now, excuse me, Nori and I, we are putting together a mastermind group that is going to be very exciting because, in fact, I tell you what, let's talk a little bit about that first because this is going to be so mind-bending that you guys really need to listen because the mastermind, everybody's heard the concept, but a lot of people don't know a lot about what it is or how it works and what it can do. So the definition of a mastermind is when two or more minds are united in harmony. They create a third mind that has the potential mind power of the two or more of them multiplied by each other. So if 1,000 people get together and think about the solution to one issue and they direct it towards the solution in a spiritual language of emotion, vivid, colorful pictures, intention, and gratitude for already having solved the problem and all the other things that has to be added to it. Now, 1,000 people times 1,000, that's the power of 1,000,000 minds. Now, that is powerful. And what Nori and I have put together here is going to be opening its doors on December 1 this year. And we'd love for people to come in and join because we will be doing some amazing things in there. We're going to teach anything from meditation to all the way to astral travel and other things within this structure of the mastermind connection. And in fact, let me give you an example of what really the mastermind can do. And this is a recent one that we did about 3 months ago. A friend of mine from the Midwest called me, and Don told me that my daughter was just diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer that has spread throughout the body. Well, that's not a good thing. So I thought, well, this is something for Nori Love to be involved with because she is a Reiki master and a healer. And I talked to her, and she contacted several of her sphere of influence, and I did, and we created a small mastermind group around this lady with the cancer. And what happened is that she also had a little church group that was praying for her, and there were some people up there that was doing the same thing. But it's hard to say, but maybe there was 50 people involved in this whole mastermind group. It's hard to say. But about a week ago, Teresa called Nori, and she said she went to the doctor, and they had a checkup, and there is no cancer in the body. Now, if you know anything about pancreatic cancer, people don't normally recover from that, especially...
No, it's the big bad wolf. It is the biggest bad wolf there is in form of cancer. Absolutely.
Yeah. And this is what happened. And this is the kind of things that we are going to be doing within this structure of the mastermind connection. And we are going to connect ourselves up with, and gosh, Keith, I hope we want to work with you on this one too, because we are assembling the brightest minds in the world that we can think of and have access to, as well as everybody else that will join in and gain from that. And especially with Nori and her healing capacities here, I'm going to brag a little bit about her because I can do that because I have seen what she can do. And well, yeah, okay, I can just about see her out there now. She don't like me to do that. She's probably rolling her eyes back by now, but I'm going to do it anyway because she has a phenomenal mind. And she's my partner in this thing, and together we overlap. I'm more of a nuts and bolt type of person, and she is in the spiritual side where I am maybe lacking. So we overlap, and we are creating something here that's going to be wonderful. And speaking of Nori, by the way, and her mind, this is a good novelty for you. She has a spoon laying on her kitchen counter. And that spoon in the middle is rolled up in a ball because she bent that spoon with her mind.
Did she now?
Yeah, that's the cute one, because this is the kind of minds that and abilities that's going to be benefiting all of us, and we can actually learn how to do this. And I'm totally convinced that access to the higher consciousness for most people come through meditation. And we're going to be teaching that also for those that has never done it, and for the ones that has been meditating a long time. We're going to teach you some tricks that you'll learn how to empty your mind out and program it for success or for good health or other things that we want to do. So there is something here for everybody.
You know, this reminds me of at least the example you gave. This reminds me of one of Greg Braden's talks videos of these three doctors in China, I believe. And that this woman, this was real time now. Well, the video is not real time, but when they recorded the video, it was real time. This person had bladder cancer. And so these three Chinese doctors hook up this, whatever, a scope whatever,
Yep.
a scope to it, so where you can see the cancer in the bladder in real time. And they had a little bit of dialogue, and they began to say, okay, here we go. And they said it in a Chinese language. I think they said, it is done, 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 it is done. And it only took three doctors, three people. Of course, they're in the East, so they're probably a little more connected than we are in the West. But anyway, these energetic doctors begin to say, it is done, it is done, it is done. And what it took, I gave it 45 seconds to a minute, and in real time, that bladder cancer began to dissolve, and you could see it right there on the camera. So this is somewhat related, or exactly the same thing that you're referring to, yes?
Absolutely. I'm well acquainted with that incident. In fact, those three people standing there, they created a mastermind of the three of them. Well, maybe four, because I imagine the patient was in on it. So they created a mastermind there to get rid of the cancer, and we could see it on the screen shrinking down. And in 3 minutes, it was all gone. You could not even see it anymore. And that cancer tumor was the size of a small fist when they started.
So I want to, not, I want this for me. It helps me. Augie, I really love definitions. I love breaking things, quote, down. I like looking at things in a very real way. Mastermind. It sounds cool. It sounds powerful. Mastermind. You know, two M's together, all capitalized, right? Mastermind. What is the master and what is the mind, and how does the dance occur so one can achieve that sort of goal? What is the master? What part of ourselves we deem as master?
Well, I'll tell you what, let me turn the phone down before something happens here.
I
Forgot
thought
to
you
do
I
that.
thought you rang some bells because we were going into a ceremony. I
Yeah,
loved.
there you go.
I was like to start omen with you, dude.
That's what I get for forgetting to do that. Gosh, I've done that on live TV too, and it's embarrassing every time it
That was
happens.
actually quite musical. It was very percussive, but it
Yeah.
wasn't abrasive. It actually sounded like something you would hear in a church, a Catholic church,
Yeah.
when there was a ceremony.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Uh, Back to the master and the mind. Um, let's look at the word mind first. What is it? We think we are told, science tells us now, I mean, Newtonian science tells us now that our mind is in the brain, because that is all that the brain can produce. But there are also now experiments showing that there are things outside of the brain that is part of this mind that we are using on a regular basis. So if the brain, if the mind is not in the brain, where is it? It is outside of the brain, outside of the body, and connected to everywhere in the universe. See, what is the universe? Let's take the mind all the way out there. Let's look at this. There's a theoretical physicist named James Gates. He has discovered a form of computer code embedded in the equation of supersymmetry that describes fundamental particles like atoms, electrons, protons, nuons, bosons, and all the way down to the omegons and down to nothing. And we are made of those particles. So if there are computer code in the fabric of space, why is it so hard to believe? Then because the DNA has computer code in it and we accept that. So now that just flat proves we are living in a computer program.
You're saying this is all just a simple hologram. What is a hologram? A hologram is this picture, image, piece of art that when you look at it, it's one piece. If you take that one piece and you shat it on the ground, each piece you pick up looks like one piece. It looks like it reflects the whole. So
Yeah.
everything is a hologram, obviously, because in every photon of light, hence the word light, proton, light, is the everything. So light, proton, hologram, it's all this divine play of energy blossoming itself into everything that's alive, created all at the same time. This is being connected with the right balanced true mind. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. You explained it. Gosh, I don't even have to explain this one now. You did it well because we are part of this holographic, self-aware existence.
So it's a
And
grid. It is a
yeah,
grid.
absolutely. We tap into all parts of it. And that's what happens sometimes when people have downloads from the universe. I had one of those, and that is one of the big reasons that this book, Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness, came about. Because I had one of those downloads, and the universe was explained in concept and detail, pretty much complete. And it flashed before me in less than 10 seconds, and there it sat. And of course, I didn't know what to do with it, so I grabbed the pen and a yellow pad, and I started writing. And I was writing for about 3 days there until I got a lot of it down. And but I realized that it wasn't necessary to write it down so much because that kind of stuff sticks in your memory very well. But a lot of that came out in the book, and that's why this book is written on 3 levels of consciousness. And the people that read the book 2 or 3 times, they will discover that. And I'm telling them also that if you read the book 2 or 3 times, you need to call me because then you're ready for stage 2, because this is something that I'm teaching people how to use their mind in ways that they normally would think was impossible. So we are in just an integral part of this self-aware universal mind that in fact creates, through our eyes and our sensory system, creates everything around us to fit the mental image that we have accepted, so that we can have mental and physical experiences for the spiritual part of us to learn from. Because the spiritual part of us is not physical, so it cannot have experiences in the physical. And it wants those experiences because it is great experiences, I suppose. Some of it isn't, we think, but maybe it is at the spiritual level. So now the mind encompasses all there is, creates all there is, including us, and the cat sitting behind you on the chair over there. Everything you see around you is part of the mind that both is creating you and everything else. Now, the master of that mastermind, that is the more, the way I would define that, the part of it that says master, that means that you have a higher level of consciousness. You have a higher level of performance. You have a higher level of learning and activity available to us, so we can.
So it's like a spiritual, not what is nitrous oxide?
Okay.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Rocket fuel, being on fire, like you, like Nori, like many other people out there, just having that glow about them to really move into something that is meaningful. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why, if anybody out there's got a pen close by, write this one down, because here's an email to contact us with, where you can actually get some information on this, and that is the mastermind connection at gmail.com. The mastermind connection at gmail.com. Write to us and we'll get you some information, and we will let you know when and how to get connected up so you can try this mastermind group. And the mastermind sessions that we are going to do will be free. I am totally in belief of that this kind of spiritual knowledge and abilities that people get to develop more psychic abilities and become healers and do whatever we need to do there, that should be free to people.
My brother, did you just say the mastermind connection at gmail.com?
Yeah, that's correct.
There we go. It's in the forum, everyone.
Okay.
Dude, I'm really digging this. Mastermind. So now that we have two components, we have the master and we have the mind, and we have an understanding. And as we grow into those two understandings, we start bridging those together. You see where I'm going with this? And next thing you know, that third mind. Aage, you and I are so connected. When I do my presentations, I talk about suddenly through the silence, the new world appears, right?
Yeah.
But we see the this and we see the that. But we never realize that it's not the this nor it's the that. It's both of those connected, which creates the third component. It's that third component that everyone is seeking. It's that thing that's no thing, and in that no thing is everything, right?
Yeah, and that's true. And if we look at, I think it's more like common knowledge that most prayers go unanswered because we're not doing it right. And that's because it was never taught to us how to do. And because we are not using the right language. If we are part of a computer program, and then we ask the computer for something, it goes through the program. Compare that to what you're doing. You're sitting down with your laptop and you are calling up a document that you have been working on. You are calling that document up and it shows up on the screen. It shows up what you asked for because you used the correct procedure to get the document out. When we are in the computer program in the universal mind, if we are using the right language and the procedures, communicating with that self-aware universal mind, it should be predictable. We should be able to receive what we ask for. But the trick is that we hardly ever do. And that is because we're not using the right language. So don't blame the computer. It is your input sequence that is not right. And that's why the computer language in the universal mind is one not of words, but it is of emotion, vivid, colorful pictures, intention, gratitude for already having it. You put yourself in it and you live it even before you have it. And those kinds of things.
You know, I'm sitting as you're talking. I'm sitting here with the idea in my head when we talk. The subject would be ants or bees, and they have queens, right? Royalty, queens of royalty, majestic, right? Regal. And these creatures are of hive mind.
Yep.
Often, when we speak about aliens and the movies we've all seen, it's always in a negative connotation. So basically, to be in touch with this, not internet, but this internet soul provider, we have to become of hive mind. And those qualities you just named is what opens up the sight so we can see that third something that you and I are speaking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
When we create a mastermind like this, we join minds together. We don't tap into everybody's mind, but individually they are joining in with the universal mind. It's not us that is probing their mind, that individually they are going to the universal mind themselves
To the
and,
source, yeah.
yeah, to the
Absolutely. To
source.
the source.
And then it becomes so much more bigger and powerful than it was just by themselves. Now, a mastermind don't have to be millions of people. Even that has been done with phenomenal results. You can do it as a family. And let's say that a family, let's say you need a new place to live. You need a new house. You can sit there and decide what you want. Find a picture of a house that you want. Know how much you can afford, and that does not matter at all. Dollar amount don't matter whatsoever. You can think of it, but forget it, because the universe doesn't care. It can get you a house that is way beyond your present mean, because other means can become available. So now you know what you want, and then go house hunting. This is the kind of stuff that all goes into the mastermind for a family. They can do it for a football league, and they do it all the time. Church groups can do it. Communities can do it. States can do it. In the last presidential election, the country did it, and we got to change. So,
Okay, when you say that we actually, no matter what, we're already by default doing the it you're talking about. But in our unconscious of the doing it is what has caused all the tragedies, all the
yep.
calamities, all the issues in the world. So if we're already doing it, if we get with the deliberate conscious program of it, we can use our already doing it and focus it and funnel it into this particular mastermind, hive divine mind sort of connection of eavesdropping in on the cosmic dialogue and taking that, riding that river back to source or God.
Yeah, and just like Nora used to say, the law of attraction and the manifestations, they always work, because we're not positive about what we want. Half the time, we don't even know what we want. So if we don't know what we want, how in the world can the universe help us? We have to have something that we are desiring. And that could show up in many different ways, but we need to direct ourselves to something. If we have no ambition and no goals or nothing in that direction, there will be things happening, and that will be most likely the prearranged set of circumstances that you agreed to before you took on the body, before you were born. So because of free will, we can change whatever we came here for. If we don't like something that happens, even though it may have been in the prearranged agreement, we can change the agreement, and we can go in a different direction, avoid maybe some of it. So the mind has free will that is never taken away from us. And this is something that we are going to be working on. We're going to teaching people how to do within the mastermind group. And the example that I told you earlier about Teresa there, that is a phenomenal one, and it's a recent one. Remember 20 some years ago when Art Bell was helping the people in Texas create rain? He told his
Yes, I do,
listeners,
actually.
yeah, create rain over Texas, and all 10 million people did. And the next day there was raining, thunderstorms, and all over Texas. So the 4 month drought was over. That was the mastermind also.
Aage, thank you for joining me here on Center of Light Radio. We're going to go into a short pause. I'm really enjoying my time. When we get back from this Lavender Soul, for those who are interested in my spiritual original group, we have been writing a new album. In fact, this Sunday morning, I'm going to record the guitar tracks for the first song. Excited about that. We're going to go into a Lavender Soul song break. Aage, thank you for joining me. And it's been a while since you and I played in the garden. How's that? We
Yeah,
joined Mastermind in the garden. I'd love to come back and open up the can of worms on time travel. How does that sound?
that'll be fine.
All right, y'all stick around. My name is Keith Anthony Blanchard here at Center of Light Radio, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Central Time. I really enjoy what I do. I hope you're enjoying what you do. Else is there to do? But also, I understand the fact that sometimes we ask ourselves. So did Lavender Soul when I wrote this song. I was in a space of hunger. I wanted some spiritual manna, and I was finding it. And as I got my groove on, I kept asking myself, what is it? I was always looking for something, as if I'm going to find this something that's going to bring me to the end game, the end all. Check it out. Be right back.
Inside.
What am I hoping for? A better world, is there a cure? What can I do to help the score? I'm at a loss, I'm just
inside. Where do you go to find your answers? There is a place you haven't tried. Your search for love is taking chances. Have you ever thought to look inside? You hold the key to find your answers. I am the door you have not tried. Never again taking chances. Open your heart and walk inside. Walk inside.
Welcome back to Center of Light. Keith Anthony Blanchard here. I am your host. Tuesday and Thursday nights tonight, my guest is Mr. Aage Nost, and we are speaking about higher consciousness thinking. Let me get him back on to Center of Light. My friend, good to see you. Welcome back. I am enjoying my time with you, sir. Let's get into some time travel. What got you into this field of time travel? Of course, it's just very alluring, but
Yeah, that's well, I don't really know, but 20 some years ago, I had a friend that in Omaha that was making time travel devices, and we all kind of laughed at it for a little bit, and but then we started hearing the stories, and there were some real stories behind this. And I have studied time travel since then. I did buy one of those machines, and I still have it. I don't really use it anymore because as you develop in this arena, you're going to be able to do the same thing with your mind. So
excuse me, bro. What machine are you referring to?
it's the hyperdimensional resonator, which is made by Stephen Gibbs in Kansas, and he's still making them. You can probably find him on the internet.
How much?
Very reasonable. Gosh, I don't even know what they are anymore. Less than $500 probably.
All right.
So I got one of those and I started experimenting with it, and I really didn't get anything, no results at all, until I started manipulating my brainwave pattern. I brought the brainwave pattern while I had myself strapped into this thing. I brought the brainwave pattern down to about 7 cycles per second, and I tried to fine tune it at 7.4, which is a magic number, as from what I understand. But that may not have worked all the time, and maybe that's why it didn't work all the time. But for those that is interested in this and want to have a peek at it, I have some photographic evidence of what I've done with time travel. It's on one of my websites, and if you want to go look at it, you can. It's www.aage-nost.com. And that's www.aage-nost.com. Go to under the picture gallery, go to page 8, and I believe it is the 7th row of picture down. It's the one in the middle. There's 2 pictures next to each other, and they are you're in the text. It'll explain the pictures, and they are. It's quite extraordinary, so you can have a look at it. But I did get some results with it, and it brought me to a point where the BBC television found out about it over in England, and they were going to do a TV show with Michio Kaku and Green and several other theoretical physicists, and they called me and wanted me on the show. They wanted me to demonstrate this machine, and they finally talked me into it. So we went into they flew me down to Atlanta, and there was a big mansion, a haunted mansion where we did this in. And they had me on camera for quite a while, and I was demonstrating this, and it came out as a pretty good TV documentary, actually, that was shown around the world to all English-speaking countries. But what I found is that some of the things that I have seen in the future did not happen. Some of them did, but not all of it. And the more I learn is that it's because of time slippage. That means that we are in more than one timeline, all of us, all the time. So let's say that, here's an example for you. Have you ever come back home from the grocery store, your hands full of grocery bags and your keys to your car hanging off the little finger, and you put the keys on the island in the kitchen, and you walk and do away with the groceries and come back and the keys are gone?
Absolutely.
What happened? You put them there, but they're gone. Everything else seems the same. But 3 hours later, you walk into the kitchen, and now the keys are back on the island again, maybe in a little different location, but they are there. This could very well be time slippage, where you slide into a parallel timeline, an alternate reality, and you don't know it because everything is almost identical to the one you left. But there are small variances.
The things you're missing.
Yeah, the keys.
The keys.
But some of the things that is in other timelines may be majorly different. And I know that for a fact, because when we did that TV documentary, I was hosting and producing 2 TV shows in Tucson, and I was all about the paranormal and government scams and what they did to the people and all the false flags that throughout history and all the wars and for profit and things like that. And whenever the government did something wrong, especially locally in Arizona, I jumped in the middle of it and exposed the fraud on TV. And they hated my guts. But I changed from that kind of thinking, because that kind of thinking was the mindset that I was in when we did that TV documentary. So later I changed my thinking. I don't even care about politics anymore. Let them have their game. That's fine. It's going to be over soon anyway. So now I am in a totally different arena, totally different path, which brought me into a different timeline where other things are happening. And there are other things in the future that is good things that I have created and placed in the future. So that is what I'm going to be going through. So that's why I think a lot of times the keys are disappearing, because we slide into a parallel timeline where we didn't put them on the island in the kitchen.
Yeah, that is commonplace for me. That is so I want to, I like that. That's a great excuse for me to blame it on, quote, that I'm just not getting my daily dose of Geritol.
Yeah, there you
It's
go.
like my mind slips from me. I swear I put them there, and they're not. So thank you for that cushion I can use with my son. Dude, I'm digging this conversation. We're in a space right now where time is it's everything's so fluid, and the waters are crossfading, and we kind of get lost in the swirl. But that's the gig. You got to find your anchor in the swirl and let things around you swirl. You can swirl with it. You don't want to go against the swirl. You want to swirl with it, and then you find yourself in it. Because when you buck that current, when you say, Aage, when you buck that current, if you can't find your groove in the current,
Yeah.
things get a little difficult, right?
And yeah, it does. And in fact, in the back of the book, Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and that one, there is a chapter in the back where I'm actually showing people how to do this, how they can condition their mind in order to do this type of time travel. Not time slippage. That one I don't really want to mess with because it is tougher to get back to the original timeline. Now, it's easier to go forward and backwards because there is a safety valve in the universe that always brings you back to where you were, unless you want to stay somewhere else. That is all free will of the mind. So if they want to read about that in the back of the book, they can find it there. Then I tell you, I read 7 or 8 different papers, scientific papers that says, yes, time travel is possible. Even the major newspapers like bbc.com/news/July 11, 2018, there is an article, scientific article, that says we can build a real time machine. And they explain how and why and so on. And also, we got to remember something that Ben Rich said. He was the head of the skunk works for Lockheed in the late 1970s and the 80s. He said, we know how to take ET home, and it will not take a lifetime to do it. We already have the means to travel among the stars, but these technologies are locked up in black projects, and it would take an act of God to ever get them out to benefit humanity. Anything you can imagine, we already know how to do.
You know, if we're speaking about time travel as far as technology and science from this platform, I think it's already being done. We're getting better at it. But as far as spiritually, I, as a human being, I'm obligated to tell you, I have done it. It is real. As far as a spiritual technology, I have time traveled. And I don't mean just had a whimsical thought that I went into a heavy memory of something that happened when I was 12. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about literally going back in time and meeting a younger aspect of myself, as well as an experience I had with Yeshua in the future when the mass. These are true time travel experiences for me that has shaped who I am between these two poles from the beginning of all of this nonsense for me into the future nonsense for me. That third something, yet again, we come back to that point, Mr. Nost. You know, I remember going back in time. It was black and white. I was so hyper conscious. I saw my mother and father sitting on a swing under a tree, black and white, days of old, and they're swinging arm in arm under this tree. And I'm in the yard next door, and they say hello, and they say, can I help you? And I said, sure. I said, I'm your son from the future. I'm your son from the future. I was so conscious. And so I've had quite a few of those. And then some other future experiences. Have you personally had your own, Aage, spiritual time travel, truly shifting out of your present locale into another present locale? You know, we call future and the past, but sometimes the past can be the future and vice versa, because who knows what direction your timeline is moving, right?
Yeah, we can. There again, the mind is very powerful. But yes, I have been in the future. I've seen some of the things that is there in the present timeline where I am now, and there are good things there. And I would say that if there is things that I have seen that is not positive, I rather prefer not to talk about it, because then it gives it energy. And if a lot of people are listening to this show and others that I made, they also start thinking about it, and then it magnifies that energy, so it could give it more of a chance to actually happen. So that's why I want to stay away from the positive and negative, but the positive things I can talk about. That's there is some really good stuff coming up front. The one big challenge which will be overcome, and that is the energy. I would call it an energy because it's becoming one of the IT. There's going to be a day when androids will have citizenship, because they can do...
Say what? Say
Yeah,
what? I
yeah.
can see that happening, but I just never thought about it. And that was kind of my say what? But now that you said that, I say I
Yeah.
can see that. Yeah.
10 years from now, you're going to be able to buy yourself, buy yourself a servant, but it's an android. And
I have an Android phone.
yeah, there you go. Hey, you're way ahead of things.
Right, right.
And there are other things, especially in the medical arena, new artificial eyes that can be inserted into people that has been blind all their life and they can see again. And there's many things like this. It's going to be a wonderful future for my timeline. I am designing it that way, and I've been up there. I've seen some of it. There is one thing that I'm using self-hypnosis quite a bit, and there's one thing I've not been able to confirm for myself. I have a sneaky suspicion that I have visited myself as a little kid, but I want to confirm that, and I know how to do it, so I'm going to have some help with that when the time comes. And otherwise, I've been up in I could care less about the past. It's already there. It's happened. I know a little bit about it. I read history. So that is not of interest to me, but the future I'm interested in. That's why I just for the life of me cannot understand why people want to restore old cars. I want the future cars.
Yeah, yeah. I like it. I love a good, fine, sleek future car. I'm an
Yeah.
automobile guy, but I want a vehicle that takes me from point A to point B.
Yeah.
But one day I might get me a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. Has always been a favor of mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, put it on your vision board. Put it on the dream wall. There, that's where it starts. And here's something very interesting. I want to take about 45 seconds to tell you.
Oh, sure.
And here's for the people that really want to dig into things and prove it to themselves and read about interesting stuff. Look to Weekly World News. It's the newspaper now on the internet also. They don't do much in the United States, but the rest of the world knows about it. Wednesday, March 19, 2003, there was an article about a time travel stock trader in New York. His name was Andrew Carlsen. He claimed he was from 2256. And he was arrested for insiders trading because he started with $800 in a matter of just 2-3 months. He parlayed that into $350 million. He did 126 high-risk trades, profited on every one of them, never lost one. Oh no, I was wrong. This was in 2 weeks. Yeah, in 2 weeks. And they said nobody could do that unless they had insiders' knowledge. So they arrested him. Had no evidence. So he told them, okay, well, let me go. And they wouldn't. So he says, I will trade you. I will give you the cure for cancer. I will give you anti-gravity. I will give you all kinds of technologies that we have in 2256 if you let me go. Well, we don't know if they actually got that, but he was released and he never showed up for his next court hearing, and he has never shown up ever since. The trick is that this man did not exist. There was no fingerprint on record, there was no birth records, there were nothing on him. He did not exist in 2013, I think, when this happened.
Wow.
$800 to $350 million in 2 weeks. Can you beat that? I believe he was an actual time traveler.
Tesla had to be. He wasn't just a man who was here throwing ideas out because he was so smart that he tapped into. Well, all that was true, but he had to be a time traveler. There's no way he had to be a time traveler. He was a time traveler. You can't have that kind of mastermind set, heart set, to bring in to facilitate such wisdom, power, knowledge. Put all that together, you have another Big Bang. So he was a time traveler because his mindset, he probably was, well, in fact, he wasn't interested in the physicality around him. He gave away his awards, he gave away his inventions. He really just didn't care about any of that.
Yeah, yeah. And there's all kinds of stories about him when he was a little kid. The neighbors even had talked about the fact there was this huge, big, bright disc, a roundish light that came out of the sky and descended in his backyard where he grew up one time. That was when he was very little. And then they were sitting there watching, and they saw that thing rise out of the backyard again and left. And they talked to his parents about it, and the parents knew nothing about it, and the kid didn't want to talk about it. That was Nikola. And Nikola also had a download when he said that I saw the future and the present and the past at the same time.
So he would be absolutely aware in that moment, even if it required him to have a physical apparatus, a machine, hardware. It doesn't matter. If he saw that, period, whatever the reason he saw that, he had to have an absolute experience, because if you can have such a vision capacity, that would be 360-degree inner sight, past, present, future. It creates a circle. It creates the vision capacity, which is an all-seeing kind of eye. And so if he was, quote, dabbling with this kind of energy, he was not here as a normal human soul just living out 70 plus whatever years if you're lucky.
Yeah, I think he came here as in spirit form. I think he took on this body. He had been in the future, lived there, and had the knowledge, or he was pulling it from the universal consciousness, so he was able to bridge the physical with the universal mind somehow, and that's where he got it. Because I don't know if there is anybody as brilliant as him ever. Otherwise.
Yeah, he one of my all-time favorites of being person to learn. He's definitely a teacher of mine. In fact, my son and I were talking the other day about Nikola Tesla. Aage, I'm glad you're here, sir. We have 15 maybe more so minutes. Where would you like to? What kind of saying would you like to make? Take a bite of.
We were talking about time. Let's talk just a little more about it. People wonder what time is. Well, time is created by the mind to get a construct. It gets a construct where we can have experiences. But so what is time? Well, it's a series of thoughts. And what is a thought? A thought is actually, if you break down the thought into what it is a particle acting as a wave, kind of like light. But each particle, science don't know that yet, but they will. And that is, each particle is formed as a donut. In the center of that donut, there is a dark black hole, little tiny black hole. And through that black hole is where we have access to the universal mind. Each one of the particles, when we think a thought, that thought implodes on itself, go through that black hole into the universal mind, look around for match in vibration, and you start pulling it back through that black hole back into the physical. And that was for the nerds out there, I guess. This is what time is, and they're going to find that very soon, because the future knows it.
Everything is just exponentiating in it. Everything is starting to pick up momentum in right, wrong, indifference, in, out, up, down, hot, cold, left, right, good, bad, holy, blasphemous. It's all starting to take off.
Yeah. Here's another thing that maybe would help people. And that is that, did you know that in 2009 there was 3 doctors that got the Nobel Prize for discovering an enzyme that reverses the aging process?
Wow.
They did. And in fact, in that book, I explain how to do that because I'm doing it and it seems to work for me. I probably got more energy than anybody I know. Nobody at the age of 73 asked me look like or do what I do that I know of. And I tell you, this can be done by just about everybody. I would say everybody, because there is a process for it. It involves a little bit of change of thought. We got to start thinking a little different, and there are certain things we can do to have the body manufacture this enzyme, telomerase, so that the body will replenish itself. Because science know what causes aging and eventual death. It is caused by the fact that the chromosomes, at the end of the chromosomes inside the cells, that has a little hard piece to it that is just kind of like the end of a shoelace. And that little piece gets, the telomeres at the end of that chromosome gets shorter and shorter and shorter for every time that the cell replicates itself. When it done that many enough time to the point where that the telomeres get so short they can no longer hold the end of the chromosomes together, the end of the chromosomes start fraying and the cell will no longer be able to use the genetic code to replenish itself or replicate itself. So we get stuck with old cells in the body and we get older and we die. Now, there's a way for the body to produce more of this telomerase, the enzyme, so that this doesn't happen. In fact, the telomeres can get longer, and that way we don't age anymore. I found two people I want to mention. One guy that I found, he died from an accident at 256, and the government verified his age. Another Chinese university professor came to New York in the mid-1950s, and an exchange program. He went out with his colleagues one evening and died from food poisoning. Now, they called the ambassador and said there's a problem with this guy's papers because he showed, it looks like he's 154 years old. Well, how could that be? Well, the ambassador told him, first of all, he only eats Chinese herbs and berries, and he knew he could not die. Evidently, he ate the kind of herbs that lengthens the telomeres at the end of the chromosomes, the same kind of herbs that I'm eating, and it does the job. And in the back of the book, you can read about it.
I have been posting your contacts, your web address, and your YouTube page throughout the entire interview, my friend, into this forum. Everyone, make sure you check out my friend's work. Aage, I'm going to go there myself in the next day or so. I'm really, really interested in what you just described as this fountain of youth chromosome.
Yeah, and you know, Keith, people like us need to stay around for a while. We got so much to do. There's so much we can help out with.
Oh, I'm not done. I'm definitely not done. I got a lot of fire left in me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep living it, and I'm gonna keep expanding that gate open and diving in further and expanding the gate open until there's nothing to dive in and expand anymore.
There you go.
So what do you have for you coming down the pike, sir?
Oh, well, first of all, the big thing that is on the schedule right now for Nori and I to launch this mastermind connection. And send us an email, then the mastermindconnection@gmail.com. Send us an email and we will get some information back to you. And from there on, next week, we'll be announcing where we will do it and how, because there is a question on that yet. So we're going to fine tune that. But I would love for everybody to join us because we're going to be doing some amazing things in here. And hey, it is free. And on the 1st of December, that's on a Sunday. And we will try to find out a good time for it. And we'll let you know.
Aage, what would you like to leave us with? What kind of thought would you like to leave us with? Something that we can ponder, something we can meditate upon, something we can just take in and chew on, assimilate, and put into motion, see how it works for us, brother.
Well, let me do run a question by you. That from another book that I wrote that's called Universal Success Principles and How Billionaires Think. Because they think different than most the rest of us. And that's why they become what they are. I want to ask everybody a question. And don't answer right away. You don't have to answer me, but answer yourself. And once you start joining the mastermind group, you will find out how to fulfill the answer to the question. Now the only thing left is the question then, right? It is.
And the question is not words that you run through your skull. That's not what the question is. The question is just closing your eyes and falling into that place where what you would call a question that you think that you have to think about, just simply exists. And it's just to vibrate, just say, God, here's this thing. You don't have to go into a dialogue in your head.
But here's the question, though. And that is, what would you start tomorrow morning if you knew you could not fail?
Dig that.
Now, don't answer right away. Wait at least 24 hours and think on it. Don't go with the first answer. Think on it for 24 hours before you answer yourself, because I'll guarantee you nobody knows how to think big enough, including me. I keep changing my answer to the question.
Right. Hey, brother, thank you for joining me on Center of Light Radio. Let's do it again. It's been a while.
Yes. And, Keith, gosh, we got to have you back on our show, too.
Say when. I'm there.
We will do it.
Stay in touch with me. My wall, I always say this, my wall is yours. Just post whatever you want on my wall. I love learning as well as I like being in the captain's chair. I like sitting in the back. I like writing coach. I really do.
Yeah.
It makes things easy. Brother, thank you for joining me on Center of Light Radio.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. This was so fun. We got to do this again. Let's do it on the Universal, on one of our shows.
Would love to. Everyone, my friend Aage Nost, we have been speaking tonight about higher consciousness thinking. Oh, now I get to go eat some pizza or something crazy with my 14-year-old boy. And was that my brother?
Join us on Broadcast Team Alpha.
Broadcast Team Alpha on YouTube. And you can also find Broadcast Team Alpha on Facebook. I think it's a group page. Is that right, my friend?
Yes.
Everyone, Keith Anthony Blanchard, the Center of Light Radio. We're going to see you soon. I'm going to hang out with my son right now. We're going to eat some food. And we're going to watch some movies. Probably 2 of them. It could be The Matrix. It could be Contact. Just know that I love you beyond measure. It is my pleasure to be in the treasure of your trove, my beloved Broham Sandwich and Sistar of Light. You live in the light anyway. Why not be in it consciously? Without the light, you couldn't exist. You are in the river. You are in the river. Deliver the river. Deliver the river. Peace, love, and light.